This is a video about direct proportion, and I'm going to try and show you a really easy way of doing this that uses as little algebra as possible. So if you're not that confident using algebra and the equations that you might have seen previously to do this type of question, then this should be a really logical way of answering it and getting the correct answer. If two quantities are in direct proportion, then what that means is that when one of them increases, the other will increase at the same rate. So if we look at this table here, it's got miles and kilometres. If I travel 5 miles, then what that means is I will go 8 kilometres. So 5 miles is 8 kilometres. And because these things are in direct proportion, if I go 10 miles, then it'll also double the amount of kilometres I go. So because I've doubled my miles, I'll be going 16 kilometres. And then if I double that again, 20 miles, we have to double the amount of kilometres that we went, 32. And what this question asks for is some sort of a link between the two. And the way to find the link is if we do 8 divided by 5, then it's equal to 1.6. And also if we do 16 divided by 10, we get 1.6. If we do 32 divided by 20, we get 1.6. So anything across this grid that we've got here, if we divide the bottom by the top, we always get 1.6. And in this situation, this is what we call the constant of proportionality. So if you're asked to find the constant of proportionality, what it's asking for is the link between the two. What do you times one of them by to get to the other? And the letter that this is often represented by is K. So it might say find K, or it might say find the constant of proportionality. So we can use this number because if I said that I'd gone 30 miles, then we could find the amount of kilometres that we need to go, because it'd just be 30 times by 1.6. And 30 times by 1.6 is 48. So we know that we've gone 48 kilometres. Likewise, if we're told the amount of kilometres that we've gone, and that happens to be 32, then because we times the top number by 1.6 to get to the bottom number, because we're starting with the bottom number, we have to go backwards and divide by 1.6 instead. So 32 divided by 1.6 is 20. So we can use the starting bit of information to find this link, K, and then use this to find the other value if we know one of them. But the questions don't always look like that. They might not give you a table to start with. And what they could look like is this. So this says y is directly proportional to x. When x is 12, y is 36. What is y when x equals 4? And what is x when y equals 120? So because it says it's directly proportional, we know that we need to find this link between them. So when you're drawing up the table, the one that's on the right here, put this at the top, because then we know that we're timesing this top number by something to get to y at the bottom. And the information that we're given is that when x is 12, y is 36. So 12 and 36. When x is 12, y is 36. And that's what that table's representing there. So because these are in direct proportion, we know there must be a link between them. And when we had the miles in kilometre, we did 36 divided by 12. Whatever's on the bottom divided by the number on the top. 36 divided by 12 is 3. So we know in this case, K equals 3. And the number that we're timesing by to get from the top row to the bottom row will always be 3. So we times by 3. So part A of this question says, what is y when x equals 4? Well, if x equals 4, we can just fill in 4 in our table as x. And because we're timesing by 3, any value of x, we just times by 3 to get the bottom. And 4 times by 3 is 12. So y must be 12 when x is 4. So now we've got a new part of the question, but that constant remains the same through all of the question. So it always times by 3. So what is x when y equals 120? Well, we just need to fill in that y is 120. And we times by 3 to get from the top to the bottom. So because we're going backwards, we need to divide by 3. 120 divided by 3 is 40. So what is x when y is 120? Well, x is 40 in this case. And we should be able to use that link to find any of them. How this can also be used is, it might not be y is directly proportional to x. What this question says is m varies directly to w squared. And if something varies directly, then it means exactly the same as being directly proportional. If m varies directly to w squared, then m is directly proportional to w squared. So there's a second difference there because it says w squared. So when you're filling in your table, you need to be quite clear that it's w squared you're putting into your table instead of just w. So remember, the thing that's on the right goes at the top of the table, so w squared, and m will go in the second row. So, table drawn up. This says when w is 2, m is 8. So we can fill in because we know that m is going to be 8, but it says when w is 2. So I'm not going to write 2 in this row because this is w squared. I'm going to need to square it before I put it in there. So if w is 2, then w squared will be 4. Now we can find the link between them. The link between w squared and m will be 8 divided by 4, which is 2. So in this case, k is 2. And that will be the same for all of this question now. So whatever's in that top row, we times it by 2 to get the bottom row. So whatever w squared is, we times it by 2 to get m. So to answer part A, it says what is m when w is 5? Well, we know that w is 5, so I can't write 5 in my table because I need to square it first. And 5 squared is 25. And now I need to times that by 2. And 25 times by 2 is 50. So when w is 5, m is going to be 50. So for part B, this is where there's an extra step comes in, because what is w when m is 98? Well, I can fill 98 straight into my table because that's the value of m. But now, to get from this bottom row to the top row, instead of timesing by 2, I'll divide by 2 because I'm going backwards. 98 divided by 2 is 49. So I've not found the value of w there, I've found the value of w squared. So if w squared is 49, then I need to do the opposite of squaring, which is square root it. And the square root of 49, so w squared equals 49, w will equal the square root of 49. So in this case, w equals 7, and that will be your final answer. So what is w when m is 98? Well, w will be 7. Hopefully you'll be able to apply this to any GCSE question that comes up. You may have been shown the equations way, but this just seems like such a logical way of doing it, and it gets you to the same answer.